Git is an amazing tool for collaboration, and that's why it's used by developers and designers around the world for just about every software project and website you use. It's a little less commonly used in type design, but it's actually, I'm sure, changing because it's got a lot of useful features. And a lot of the best type designers that I know of do use Git to some degree or another. But there are some challenges to using Git. I mean, there's a lot of challenges actually, and it takes a while to really learn it. But I'm going to go through one specific challenge between using RoboFont for UFO font sources and GitHub uh, and working with a collaborator. So specifically, uh, there's a thing where if you're working with a collaborator, they will make what's called a branch, and they'll do some work over there. You have your own branch, and you're doing work there. And then when you want to combine that work, it's called a merge or a Git merge. Uh, the problem with UFO files is that there are frequent merge conflicts, which are actually pretty easy to deal with once you know what's going on, but can feel scary at first. Like there's the whole joke that like merge conflicts are hell or whatever. That's not very true. They're not terrible, but uh, things could go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. And it certainly confused me the first few times I saw it. So, and in fact, I still have to think a little bit hard when I'm doing the merge conflict resolution. And that's why I wanted to make a quick video to kind of roll through the process with you to show you how I handle it. So, getting to the fonts, this is Chantel Sans. It will be an open source project. And by the way, GitHub and Git is useful for not only open source projects, that's of course what you tend to see there publicly because those projects are open source, but I use Git for every one of my font projects and every one of my code projects because it's just a really nice way of working. And it also is kind of like a good safety mechanism in case you mess something up or you want to go back or whatever. Right. So these fonts, they started with an extended Latin, but we've been commissioned to add Cyrillic and more extended Latin. So I am really lucky to be working with Anya Danilova, who is a great Cyrillic type designer, and she's starting to work through this stuff. And then I'm pushing the Latin a little further forward. So what we've got here is GitHub. This is a pull request. Anya is she's been working on some more Cyrillic and looks like she's made a couple of commits, kind of experimenting probably with some alternates and like making a stylistic set. So here is a good example of what can happen. And by the way, let me go to my code editor and make sure that I have pushed my latest. This is VS Code. I really love working with VS Code for a lot of reasons, and I'll get into one of those in a second. Right, so GitHub helps us out a little bit actually with merge conflict resolution. It's saying that, oh, and let me, by the way, check. Okay, I'm in the main branch as I can see down here in the corner. It's saying, well, often you can resolve merge conflicts right in GitHub, which is really handy. But for complex merges, like if Anya had made, I don't know, 15 commits and added a lot of new glyphs, this would have been a slightly more complex merge. So you can go through these command line instructions. You basically, GitHub makes this relatively easy. They give you kind of the first part, and what we'll be doing is we'll be fetching, like downloading the origin repo, which is the thing on GitHub, to our local computer. And then we're going to be checking out the Cyrillic branch that we have locally. And no, actually, we'll be making a new Cyrillic branch locally from origin Cyrillic. And then merging main into that, fixing the conflicts there. And then we go back to main and merge in the Cyrillic. However, I'm pretty sure I already have a local Cyrillic branch. So I'm just going to go to that and then pull what's on the origin. So let me do that. So I'm going to say git checkout Cyrillic. And then I'm going to say git pull origin Cyrillic. Let me just try git pull, see what happens. Okay. Okay, lots of updates, even updates from the master, really, because, or sorry, the main branch, because Anya had merged that into her Cyrillic branch, and that's what's on the origin Cyrillic now. Right, so basically the origin, the GitHub version of the Cyrillic branch had some new things that my local Cyrillic branch did not. So that's some of the things I'm seeing here. And so far, there are no conflicts or anything, which is great. But if I say this kind of step 2 from here is, step 1C, I guess, is merging the main branch from our local main into it. And it's saying conflict. So this is just what we were looking for. Let me zoom in here a little bit to show this in a slightly clearer way. This is perfect. So this lib.plist is one place that I tend to see conflicts. Another is actually the contents.plist. And it looks like maybe we actually dodged. Well, no, this is a pretty good example of one thing that can happen. So this is, let's scroll up. This is, I'm just trying to look at what list this is. There's probably a slightly faster way to do this, but it's the glyph order. Okay, so that's easy enough. It's just the record of what's the order of glyphs. Now to explain a merge conflict real quick, Git adds in, and actually sometimes to explain a merge conflict, it's best to look at it in a simpler editor. So let me reveal this in the sidebar, and then I'll open this with never mind. I'm just going to open this in Finder, and here I'm going to open this with, let me open it with TextEdit. Like, I just want the simplest possible view of this. We'll just do a new document and then lib.plist. Let's drag this down into TextEdit. Okay, so here's, very basic look at this file. And let's go all the way down to our Git Merge conflict. I'm going to search for it. It's these guys. Cool. So yeah, these pieces of syntax are actually inserted directly into the file. And what this means is that Git is telling us that, so I'm at the head. The head is always where we are currently. And then that starts with this. And it's basically saying these are all lines that have been added up to these guys. And then these were all lines that have been added. And that's coming from the main branch. And so Git doesn't want to try to decide for me which of these lines are correct. It's saying, hey, human being, I need you to make the call here. And in this case, it's really simple. I just want all of these glyphs that are added here and all of these glyphs that are added here. So the VS Code view kind of gives us a few nice things. It basically says, like, we could accept one or the other or both. And in the case of merge conflicts in UFOs, I usually accept both things if it's just a list of glyphs. because either in contents.plist or in lib.plist, basically if you've got any repeats in here, it doesn't really tend to matter if it's like the glyph order or if it's a list of glyphs inside. Like let's go to a contents.plist. If it's just a list of glyphs inside a particular layer, like the primary layer of glyphs in Chantel Light, if there are duplicates, doesn't even matter. Once you open it and save it in RoboFont, that's automatically corrected. So that's kind of a useful thing to know. I do see one little bit of odd syntax here. It's like an empty string for a glyph. This just kind of happens sometimes, and I think it might be on me. It might be one of the scripts I use or something. I'm not entirely sure. But basically that's just like an empty string, so we don't need it. Anyhow, I'm going to accept both changes. Cool. And then I'm going to also delete that empty string because we don't need it. And so this is an all right glyph order. I'm going to save that, Command S, and then I'm going to go back to my Git view. And now that it's saved, I can add it to the staged changes. And then, yeah, there's no other merge conflicts. Those are kind of helpfully put up top. I'm going to say merge branch main into Cyrillic. And let me check back on the instructions here. Oh yeah, so then I check out main again. And this will kind of complete the pull request actually without me clicking any buttons in here, I believe. So I'm going to do all three of those lines. I will be going from the Cyrillic, which is now up to date with main. Going from Cyrillic to main, merging the Cyrillic without the fast forward. I have to honestly look up what that is. And then pushing that up to the origin. Super cool. So this is just asking me to confirm the commit message for merging Cyrillic into main. And it is pushed. So if we go back here, it will tell us, I think I've already merged it. Yep, arrow type merged commit into main. And so that is kind of a quick explanation. I will probably come back at a later point and like when I have a really hairy kind of merge conflict, I'm going to try to record that one as kind of a better example of what to do when there's an intense merge to make. You don't need to be scared of it. 95% of the time, if you're like having a merge conflict due to multiple people working on UFOs in, say, RoboFont and merging things around in Git, it's just going to be that multiple people added new glyphs to a certain layer or to the glyph order. And you can just accept both changes and you're pretty much golden. Yeah, like you'll know that something's wrong if, oh, and then by the way, once you go back into RoboFont, it'll tell you like that these fonts, if you've got them open, have been, modified or changed or removed by the updated stuff. So yeah, so now it's got Anya's latest work on the Cyrillic and my latest work. So that's exactly what we wanted. Yeah, you can, if you've like done this merge, you can then open the files in RoboFont. And if they, I'm not going to save it because it's already saved in the project. If they open in RoboFont, then you are good. If they don't, that probably means you have like a syntax error. The good thing about Git is that you can kind of always backtrack if you need to, almost always backtrack if you need to. You can mess things up in a bigger way if you know what you're doing. But it's not super easy to do so. Yeah, so basically don't be too afraid of it. And thanks for watching.